There are days when we feel separated from God. And sometimes we don't always know why, but every once in a while, this kind of despair can arise, or this fear. Even if you can't really put it into words, it's this feeling that you are not where you want to be, or maybe that you're heading in a wrong path. It's almost like your higher self can sense that there's a misalignment, there's disharmony. And especially when you're on the spiritual path, those days can be disheartening because we've built this identity of being a spiritual person, or trying to nurture our relationship with God, or trying to live a righteous life. And then something comes up that challenges the way we look at things. Because when we're so focused on always trying to be good, we're always trying to raise our frequency, that too is an attachment that at some point will throw us off the path. Because life is not always about ascension like you would think an elevator. It's not just a one-way street, let's say. Just recently I thought of the idea, life and success and, returning to God, it's one straight path, one straight line. Even from the moment you begin, you can see the end, you can see the finish line. But all along the way, there are millions and millions of paths leading out into infinity on each side. And so it is not possible to just go straight. Maybe if you sprint really fast, you can do it. But chances are there are going to be distractions. There are things as you go along that call to you, that move you off the path. And a lot of people who are in suffering, who are slaves, they are the ones who are lost in this kind of dark forest, and they can't find their way out. This is being lost in the world. But it is not wrong to go off the path. It is not wrong to explore different avenues, because that is partly what life is all about. If we were just at one with God all the time, then what would be the purpose of anything? The fact that we become separated from God, and that we forget, and that we fall into illusion, is precisely what makes everything so meaningful. The fact that God forgets that God is playing a role, experiencing itself, is what makes the game exciting. The fact that we enjoy movies is that the actors are 100% in that certain role. Halfway through the movie, they don't reveal that, oh no, this is just a movie, I'm just an actor, this isn't real. It's all pretend. Because that would ruin the experience. And a lot of people in the spiritual community, we can get caught up in these certain kinds of identities. Whether it's the Advaita Vedanta, nothing's real kind of persona, or, being the morally superior, I'm on a higher path than everyone else kind of persona. And no matter who you believe you are, there will always come that day where life begins to show you that who you are and what you think and how you think is no longer sustainable. And those are the days where it can feel like hell, because there is this sense of separation from God, or separation from the path. And that is our bodies, or even our soul, indicating to us that there's something that needs to be adjusted. Because our soul is beyond time. So it can see all of these different potential paths that we can run into the future. These potential pitfalls and dangers. So it's always communicating with us, trying to get us back on the path that it knows is for our best interest. And so don't be afraid of letting go of certain identifications, certain attachments, because it is these attachments that will stop the ascension process. Because, like a balloon, we are already ascending naturally, which means that our soul is already making its way back to heaven, so to speak. But because of our attachments, because of the way our experiences imprint onto our consciousness, let's say, this begins to weigh down the soul, or weigh down that balloon, in which we can no longer rise to higher states so easily. Almost like putting sand in the balloon, or some kind of object. And when there's so much attachment to which, rather than ascending, the soul begins to fall down further and further and further, until we reach a state of hell, in which you might say the flames of hell burn off the imperfections and allow the soul to rise up once again. But if we are able to let go of our attachments to unsustainable ways of being, we can avoid falling into those lower hell realms. That is why humility is often revered as one of the greatest virtues, because when you are humble, you listen. And when you are prideful, you're often so caught up in speaking about yourself, or how that you're right and the way that you do things is right. And so the key is to not be so attached to the way we are, to allow for what we could be. So when you have those days where you might feel like you're not making progress, or even that you're regressing, just know that it is all part of the plan. It is all part of the progression of life. Because sometimes you need to take a bit of a detour to explore, to find where not to go, so you can know where you want to go. To come to realize who you don't want to be, so you can know who it is that you want to become. To know what you don't want, so that you can come to know what you do. And so even if you're in the midst of suffering, it's often best to just relax and ease into awareness, and to kind of realize what's going on, and to get in touch with this inner guidance system in which the soul is communicating with us to direct us back on the path of our highest potential. And to listen to that calling, to that message, so that we do not accidentally fall into hell or fall into a trap because we did not listen, or that we were not aware enough to change the course of our actions.